yes, there are ethics involved. There are certain things that benefit our humanness, and there are certain things that detract from our humanness. Obviously, there are vices and virtues. There are things that are destructive to life, and there are things that are supportive of life and life-enhancing. And the Qur'an tells us as much. Respond to the call of that prophet who calls you to that which will bring you more life. So we're definitely into life. You know, we become receptive to what Jesus called abundant life. But we also know that there's a part of us that has to die. There's a false self that also needs to die, and again and again and again. There's a dying process that goes on. The saints say, die in love if you want to come alive. Bury your selfhood in God's self. Come to live through the divine being. And this is a subtle and a deep subject. It's a subject that we explore year after year after year. But returning to the theme of Baraka, we're all on this path. We're all learning and relearning and deepening in our understanding of these really basic truths. And that's why we need each other, and that's why we need to bring together the kind of people who have matured in this way and who have been illuminated with this divine light. And yet to do it somehow, we're not trying to hold up, some of us as being better or enlightened, but we are all coming together in the name of this spiritual maturity and to encourage this process of becoming more light-filled, more conscious, less tyrannized by our own egos, less enslaved by our own egos. So the vision of Baraka was to create a common space, a common ground, where we could invite just some of the best people we know, some of the most inspiring and knowledgeable people we know, but also as an excuse to bring all of us together, because we also inspire each other and learn from each other. So there's a way, I believe, in these times to do this in a less hierarchical way, and through a process of friendship and mutual support that is not strictly hierarchical and certainly is not authoritarian. We eschew from all forms of authoritarian spirituality. Our teachers were servants. They were the humblest people we knew. And that's why we embrace them as our teachers. So this, we believe, is the way of Muhammad. This is the way of all of the prophets, the way of Jesus and Abraham and countless others. And Baraka is hopefully going to slowly grow and mature and model a form of the spiritual life that is needed in this contemporary world, where the purest, most universal expression that was communicated through the Holy Qur'an and through other revelations, that we can somehow embody that and express that and be examples of that for each other and possibly for a wider world in some small way. Frankly, I know of nothing quite like it, and we have a great sense of hope and trust in this vision. So that's the outline of what we're hoping to do. And I'd also like to just have us share some thoughts about this and later tonight we will look at a video that is some highlights from last year's Baraka retreat, where we can have a taste of some of the speakers who were there and get a sense of what we were trying to accomplish and what we did accomplish. And it includes some beautiful singing, some zikr, as well as some talking. That will be for later. But for the moment, really, I really do seek your counsel, your guidance, your feedback, and or any questions that you might have. And I'll also say that we are at the same time presenting the Baraka Institute through the internet as well as we can, through a website, through a Facebook page, through podcasts, through videocasts. And I know that this is the way in which a lot of younger people especially are getting their spirituality. And that's wonderful, because it does spread this consciousness, this teaching to the wider world. But its limitation is that it comes to people on a relatively narrow bandwidth of experience that is very different from when human hearts actually gather together and meet face to face, and even meet face to face, or better yet, heart to heart in silence. Because there's also something profoundly important that is transmitted through silence and through simple presence. There are some sheikhs one might meet, and some gatherings of dervishes that meet in this way, where people gather, and the sheikh, the teacher, might say nothing for half an hour, might just look at you, might just be with you. And Camille and I have spent sometimes afternoons holding the hand of an 85-year-old master, to the point where I didn't know if he was alive or dead, honestly, anymore. And after a few hours, I kind of went like this. I'm talking about a great master, Hassan Shushud. And eventually, I found out he was still alive. And he said, "Thank you for bringing me back so gently." Not that he was gone. I mean, he was more there than I was, but you know what I mean. So this dimension of human presence is something that we can't ignore. We need to have these events. We need to have places where people can come. That's why we created this place, where hearts could meet and exchange that energy, because it is very much a process of refining our individual energies and through a kind of resonance, developing a finer state of being. And the more we mature in this way, the more we develop these capacities, the finer the resonance becomes. And the more that can be transmitted wordlessly. We use words as reference points and to kind of lay out a context and a metaphysical system, which is very important. It's very important that we have some knowledge about these things. But this is not primarily a project of the intellect. It is much more a project of the purification of the heart and the awakening of consciousness and the awakening of love. That's what it's about.